Today I fucked up by not reading a recipe closely enough, so I decided to try out a new recipe from NYT Cooking, as I usually do since their recipes are easy enough to follow and are flexible enough to where I can add or sub stuff in if needed. Well, I usually am confident enough in the kitchen to follow a recipe with it in front of me without looking too closely. I just keep the recipe in front of me to make sure I'm cooking in the right order. Well, today I wanted to try out this chipotle honey chicken tacos. That is all made in an instant pot, since it looked like I can just throw everything into the instant pot and it's done. Well, here's where I high-key fucked up. So in the ingredients list, it listed canned chipotles in adobo. So when I went out to get groceries to make the recipe, I got 2 cans of chipotles in adobo. The thing is, it said 1 to 4 canned chipotles in adobo, finely chopped, plus 2 tablespoons adobo sauce. My brain went, oh okay, put both cans into the pot. So I dumped 2 full cans of chilies plus the sauce that they were in with 2 pounds of chicken, when the recipe was made for 112 pounds of chicken. The thing was that I didn't realize how spicy it was until the second taco I ate. Once the second taco hit my tongue, everything went into flames. I love spicy food, but this just was way too spicy. But did I finish all 4 tacos? Yes. Will I be eating the rest of the chicken over the next week? Yes. Did I immediately try to make it less spicy by adding sugar and acid into it? Yes. Will it still be spicy? Hopefully not. If anyone wants to actually try the recipe because it was delicious, my fuck-up just made it way spicier than intended. It's from NYT Cooking and it's called Pressure Cooker Chipotle Honey Chicken Tacos. Kinda new to posting on Reddit, so IDK if links are okay or not. TLDR, didn't read a recipe closely enough. Added 2 whole cans of chilies instead of 1 to 4 individual chilies. Today I fucked up by not realizing I didn't have a master's degree. I'm on mobile, so sorry for the formatting. TLDR at the bottom. This happened yesterday, but I guess the FU technically spans approximately 5 years. I finished my master's degree in late 2019, or at least I thought I did. After a grueling year of working part-time and writing my dissertation, at long last I got it finished, presented it in November, got my grade immediately after. My dad was even there to watch the presentation. Good times. Because the holidays were right around the corner, I didn't have my diploma until February 2020, and well, I think we all know what happened to the world right after. When I got home after getting the diploma, I scanned it, so I would have a digital copy to send to employers and stuff, put the physical version safely away, and proceeded to not really think about it anymore. That's where the FU began. To be honest, I didn't even really look at it super carefully, writing. My dissertation was so incredibly exhausting and draining that I was just glad it was over and wanted to focus on my work. Years went by. I got through the pandemic, my career as a freelancer started gaining momentum, I fell in love, even moved to a different country. Recently, I changed my name and emailed my university to ask about getting new copies of my diplomas with the new name. Somewhere in one of the replies from the university they asked, "Are you perhaps referring to your specialization diploma? We have no record of you finishing a dissertation, only all the other classes in the master's degree." My heart dropped. I looked at the digital copy I've kept for years, even dug up the physical version just to be sure, and lo and behold. While the diploma does mention the master's degree by its name very early on the middle of the second page it does specify that it's a specialization. I have to admit I panicked. I scoured my old emails for something, anything, that could help me prove that I didn't imagine the whole thing and wrote back, explaining that I did finish my dissertation and asking what can be done to try to understand what actually happened here. They haven't replied yet, hopefully they will in the next few days. I know the professor who was my advisor can vouch for the fact that the presentation did indeed happen. But I'm terrified that, because it's been so long, nothing can really be done about it anymore. I guess time will tell. I honestly feel heartbroken. Thinking that all that hard work could go to waste makes me want to cry. More than anything, I'm furious at myself for not paying more attention and catching this sooner. I feel like such an idiot. Wish me luck figuring this out. TLDR, I thought I finished my master's degree, but the university didn't actually have any record of me finishing my dissertation and only gave me a specialization diploma. I didn't notice for 5 years and have no idea if this can be fixed or if it's too late. Edit, you guys, I found my dissertation in the university's online repository. It was published after all. I'm emailing them again with this information. Hopefully it will be enough proof that this is most likely an administrative error. Tomorrow is a holiday in my home country, so I'm not expecting to hear back from them until Monday. But I will make an update post as soon as I have more news. Also, I understand that in most English-speaking countries, you write and defend a thesis for a master's degree, but I'm not from an English-speaking country. In my university, they call it a dissertation. I'm sorry that caused some confusion. Today I fucked up by eating lunch in my car, the end of the work week, and boss man catered in sandwiches for the whole department. Yahoo! Lunchtime rolls around and I make my sandwich plate roast beef, turkey, ham, cheese, lettuce and onions, and I decide to go eat lunch in my car because, along with the Friday treat of free food, we also got an extended lunch break. Halfway through my awesome free sandwich, I decided to take the onions off and set them on my paper plate. Timer goes off, I grab my drink and head back inside. Wasn't until I was walking out to my car with my co-workers several hours after my lunch break that I noticed that the air around my car smelled funky. I open my car door and a wave of hot gross onion air hits me like a truck. I left the onion plate on my passenger seat. In 80-degree weather, with the sun stabbing through my windows, I gag, my co-worker gags, my boss walks up and gags. I stare in shock with my car door open as I'm faced with a paper plate of shriveled, sweaty onion slices. Everyone begins to laugh at my misfortune. My boss says, "Wow, that's pretty terrible. Have a great weekend," and strides off to his fresh-smelling, non-onion contaminated car. I drove home with all the windows down. My girlfriend asked why I smelled like onions. My friends keep calling me Onion Boy. TLDR, left onions in my hot car for several hours. Today I fucked up by accidentally becoming the villain in 40 Kids Morning. I'm a school bus driver and TIFU. This morning everything felt smooth. I started my route on time, traffic was light, and every stop went off without a hitch. But barely any kids were getting on. It was strange enough that by stop 8, usually one of my busiest, I asked a few of the regulars who usually chat with me, "Where is everyone today?" In my mind, I tried to play it off. Maybe there's a field trip. Maybe school's doing something special today. I convinced myself it wasn't me. Then I got to stop 9, which is always my busiest, and saw kids running for dear life to catch my bus. That's when I finally glanced at my wristwatch. I was 3.5 minutes early. At that point, it all hit me at once. I had been early to every stop. My bus clock was running fast, and I hadn't noticed because normally everything just lines up. So I sat there at stop 9 for 3.5 minutes, watching the aftermath of my mistake unfold in real time. After finishing the route and dropping off the kids, I was driving to take my daughter to her school. That's when I saw them. Kids I was supposed to pick up. My kids. Walking along the sidewalk of a major road. They looked up at the bus as we passed. The expressions weren't confused or angry. They were haunting, like they'd been left behind and knew exactly who did it. And the worst part? So did I. TLDR. My bus clock was running fast, so I accidentally showed up 3.5 minutes early to all my stops. I thought everything was just weirdly quiet until I saw kids sprinting to catch the bus at stop 9. Later, I drove past the ones I missed walking to school and got haunting looks of betrayal. I was the villain in their morning. Today I fucked up by calling myself a puppy during a job interview. This is still really recent, and technically I haven't gotten the rejection email yet, but I am still embarrassed. I've been currently in the running for a job that is within my skill set, like almost a perfect fit for me. It's for an industry I am very familiar with, and even is in the right location for me commute-wise. I did the first interview with the CFO and he loved me. He said I had a great personality and that I would be a perfect fit for the team skill-wise, but wanted me to meet with my future supervisors to make sure I had the right synergy for the team. Here's where I fucked up. The second interview was scheduled the same day I was supposed to go to my parents to dog sit, so I was super excited to see my precious little girls. Anyway, I get to the second interview, and they're asking me the generic questions you'd expect from a job interview. Anyway, they throw a curveball. They ask me, what are 5 words to describe me? I list off 4 that I think fit me well, but then I blanked on the 5th one, in which I then blurt out puppy. The interview ends on the scheduled time, but I wasn't given a follow-up date, only that they'll talk to the CFO about the interview. I feel like I bombed it now. TLDR, have important job interview, end up potentially bombing it because I called myself a puppy at the end. Today I fucked up. I accidentally let people think I lost my index finger. So back in November 24, I got into a bad car accident. Due to the hospital not giving me proper home care instructions, negligence, my hand developed dead tissue, resulting in my second degloving and a skin graft. I've posted my updates on my Facebook for family and friends. Since the accident, I've been doing physical therapy to regain full function in my left hand. Unfortunately, my left index finger refuses to fully bend into a full fist. Normally, the physical therapist will tape my hand into a fist as part of my therapy. However, upon the most recent evaluation, my index finger is the only finger that refuses to bend in. As a result this time, they only taped my left index finger into a bent fist position. Honestly, when they only taped my finger, I laughed. I had blue tape on my hand holding my index finger down. It looked funny to me. I took a picture and posted it on Facebook. Unfortunately, everyone who saw that picture thought my finger was gone. People called me, texted me, and were worried I lost my finger. I had to post 2 updates to tell people I still had all my fingers. TLDR, I posted what I thought was a funny picture of my left index finger being taped, but instead people thought I had that finger amputated. Today I fucked up by ending up on Fox News. Context, I'm British. Some people say I have a posh voice, and I was visiting New York for a week with my grandparents a few weeks ago. On our last day in NYC, I decided to walk around Manhattan by myself while my grandparents picked up the hire car to drive upstate. As I'm walking through Times Square, I get stopped by a man with a microphone alongside a cameraman and a producer. He stops me and asks me if I wouldn't mind answering a few questions. I see on the microphone it says, "The Big Weekend Show," which to an American might be obvious. But I had never heard of this show before, so I figured it was some small YouTube thing. So I decided to agree to the interview when in Rome. I should add that we visited the US right as the whole group chat leak thing happened, and just about everyone was talking about it. The interviewer then starts asking me questions like, have you ever been added to a group chat by mistake? And what would you do if you were added to a group chat by mistake? Etc. I obviously immediately realized what he was referring to and gave my honest answers to the questions he was asking. I have very little knowledge and opinion on the topic, being British. After the interview was done, I asked if I could watch it anywhere, and the interviewer says yeah, it'll air on Fox News on Saturday at 6 p.m. as part of their Talk of the Town segment. Right away, I realize I'm about to be on the most hated news network in America. But on top of that, when I get nervous, I tend to talk a bit more posh for some reason, and naturally, I was nervous as hell being interviewed on camera. So especially when put next to regular NYC citizens, I sound like a really stuck-up posh British dude. Returning to uni in the UK, I'm not hearing the end of it from my friends. They're all repeating the phrase I used in a posh voice. And my family keep bringing it up 3. Overall, it was a cool experience. I feel hope that since I'm British, I can get away with being on Fox without people thinking I agree with their politics. LOL. TLDR, I got interviewed in Times Square, not realizing it was for Fox News. I accidentally spoke in a posh voice, so now I'm suffering the consequences from my friends and family. Edit. A lot of people are asking for the link. I tried to find it. But it seems Fox only posts some of their Talk of the Town segments, and my one isn't on their website. Any suggestions of where I could find it? LMK. Today I fucked up. TIFU by eating mixed-up Greek yogurt and ending up in the ER. I used to be deathly allergic to milk and milk products, cheese, cream, cookies, and the like. I decided that the dairy-free lifestyle was not for me, so I started DIY OIT oral immunotherapy. Basically, I dose myself with small amounts of dairy and increase the dosage until I could eat dairy freely. I did it with Greek yogurt. I started off with 1/18 of a teaspoon of Greek yogurt, went up to 1 teaspoon in a couple of months, which translated to 13 of a tablespoon, and eventually started tolerating multiple tablespoons of Greek yogurt and being able to eat whatever in the span of 7 months. Greek yogurt separates into 2 parts, a solid curdy part and a liquid moat around the solid curdy part. The solid part is casein protein, and the liquid part is whey protein. I initially only dosed the solid part since it was easier to split up. Someone in my family mixed the yogurt when I was at 12 of a teaspoon, and I consumed whey protein for the first time. Q being hospitalized, TLDR tried fixing my dairy allergy by dosing up Greek yogurt, Someone mixed it up, giving me some whey protein for the first time, sending me to the ER. Today I fucked up by being a good neighbor. This evening, our Ring camera went off that someone was in the alley behind our house. Our backyard opens into the alley, so we have a camera on the outside. When we checked it, we saw someone breaking into our neighbor's storage closet in the back of their house. We watched on our Ring camera for the 10 minutes it took to call the police. Yes, we were on hold for that long, and for the 20 minutes it took for a cop to show up, and the intruder did not leave the closet. The police came to our house on the other street as the house in question, so they went through our backyard to the alley to check on it. They called the guy out, which got the homeowner's attention. From what we could tell on the Ring camera audio, this was her grandchildren's father, but he was not supposed to be there. She said she wanted to press charges. They arrested him and took him away. That was the last we heard about it as we went inside after. Because the cops used our gate to get back there, the homeowners correctly assumed it was us who called. Well, tell me why I was walking past my side window and heard them loudly complaining to my next-door neighbor that we called the police. I'm sorry, you're mad we called the police when your house was being broken into while you and your grandchildren sat there. Unaware? Best case, he would have robbed you. Worst case, he could have hurt you and your family. Should I have just sat there and watched him rob them on camera and done nothing about it? IDK. What's going on in the world anymore, man? But damned if you do, I guess. TLDR neighbors mad that we called the cops on their grandbaby daddy who broke into their storage unit. Today I fucked up by booking a hotel room. So I F23 have been a huge Formula One fan since I was a kid. Growing up in a low-income country, seeing a Grand Prix live always felt like a far-off dream. But after years of working my ass off, I finally got to a place financially where I could afford it. Last December, that dream finally started to come true. I managed to buy F1 tickets, actual real expensive-ass tickets. All I had to do was choose which GP to attend. After some research and budgeting, I landed on Hungary, mostly because it was cheaper than the other European races and seemed less overwhelming for a first-time GP trip. Wanting to be responsible and secure a place early, I booked a hotel ASAP. I went with the cheaper, non-refundable option because what could possibly go wrong, right? And happily moved on, thinking everything was sorted. Fast forward to today, I was casually checking the F1 calendar for a totally unrelated reason, and something about the Hungarian GP date looked off. I double-checked my booking reservation, and there it was. I had somehow, probably in my ADHD-fueled indecisive research, phase-booked the hotel for the weekend of the Austrian Grand Prix, a whole month earlier than the Hungarian one. So not only is it the wrong date, it's the wrong freaking race. Now I've got non-refundable hotel booking. I can't use $200 down the drain. Very expensive. Probably not refundable tickets for a GP I still want to attend. Zero hotel for the correct dates. A travel budget that's already looking at me like, bitch, I'm out. I haven't even had the courage to check if the GP tickets are refundable or exchangeable, because if they're not, I might just scream into the void. So yeah, either I don't eat for the next 2 months, or I give up on the thing I've dreamed of for over a decade. Great. TLDR lifelong F1 fan finally buys tickets to the Hungarian GP. Accidentally books non-refundable hotel for the weekend of the Austrian GP instead. Now broke and having an existential crisis. Today I fucked up by drinking a wrong bottle. I was drinking wine the whole night, and at some point I confused a bottle and accidentally drank a good amount of my own P1 Mercis. It was a couple of gulps. Not to be funny, but I didn't recognize anything weird after the first gulp. I was drinking some cheap Cali white wine. But then I realized it, and now I'm really disgusted. Sometimes I use bottles at night because my roommates are sleeping and I don't want to wake them, or sometimes just out of pure laziness. If you want to know the taste, it's like warm, salty water with a hint of something disgusting, like a bit of A1 sauce. It was bad, but at least now I know what that tastes like. I think if it's your own, it's moderately disgusting. Maybe if you're sexually attracted to someone, it could be more tolerable. I had some fantasies about it before, and now I ended up drinking my own. Guess I'm not really attracted to myself. Stay safe and always check your bottles, guys. TLDR confused bottles during a drunk night, drank something disgusting by mistake. Today I fucked up by trying to repair my tumble dryer. We had a fuse pop yesterday. Didn't think much of it. It does happen from time to time. Went and reset it, went back to my life, but a bit later I noticed that the dryer wasn't working. Nothing but beep 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 when I pressed the start button. Two possible causes. One, the door sensor is not registering that it was closed, since it does the same beep beep thing whether door is open or closed. Two, the power cut was caused by an overload of some kind, and Google suggested there should be a reset switch in the back somewhere. Well, first, it had those stupid bloody six-pointed star-shaped screws, for which I have no screwdriver. Went to the hardware store, came back later, started taking panels off looking for the reset switch, swiftly found that I didn't have room to work in the place where it was sitting, so I had to carry it outside. Weather wasn't looking that great, but fortunately just cloud no rain. Anyway, carry on taking off panels and trying to detach things without breaking them. Mostly successful at that. Find an extraordinary amount of dust in there, some of it congealed to the plastic by miscellaneous grossness. Probably mold, maybe oil from a motor or something. Vacuumed it out as much as I could. No luck finding a reset switch. Found what looked like a fuse, detached some wire clips, remembering to unplug it first, put them back in later, forgot to unplug it. Mild zap, FML. Couldn't get the front off, which meant that I couldn't get at the door sensor. Test runs kept failing. Eventually, after the second less mild shock, I gave up. Put everything back together as best as I could, 9 screws left over, FML again. And then, 2 hours or so after I started, suddenly occurs to me that while I have tried turning the power off, pressing 2 buttons at once in a few combinations and some other random things, I haven't yet tried holding down the start button for 10 seconds. So I do that, and the fucking thing works now. TLDR, 2 hours of taking it apart and putting together my tumble dryer could have solved it in 10 seconds. Today I fucked up by accidentally getting stoned at work. I work at a law firm. Boss keeps the windows open and I get really bad allergies in spring. Today I forgot my Zyrtec, so I was having really bad symptoms, like could not breathe bad. Boss was like, "We have Benadryl." I've never taken Benadryl in my life. I figure how bad can it be? I take 2. I then read the package may cause marked fatigue. I usually drink strong cold brew in the morning, and I also take a daily steroid inhaler for chronic asthma, which can wire me so bad that I lose sleep. You can see where this is going. The combo of the coffee and inhaler and Benadryl is bad. Like I can't think and my hands are floppy bad. I feel like I ate a weed gummy. My boss is asking me to send important tax documents to high-powered attorneys, and I'm sweating. I cannot read the documents because I'm living in the time dilation zone. I have been moving in slow motion since 9:30 a.m. I have no idea how I'm supposed to accomplish anything like this. I tried to pick up the phone earlier and failed 3 times BC. I kept dropping it. Co-workers think I'm actually high on real drugs. I cannot think. I'm going to cry. TLDR, I accidentally speedballed myself at work. Today I fucked up by forgetting that machines need electricity. So today my fiancé and I are relaxing in our room. Background knowledge, we sometimes partake in enjoying edibles, and today is one of those days. My fiancé and I are very giggly when we're stoned, and even when we're not, we are the type of people that laugh when we have dumb moments. Our dumb moments usually become our inside jokes to tease each other with. It's also worth noting that my fiancé jokingly calls me the tech wizard because I am usually a lot more tech-savvy than her, and I tend to have the magic touch for malfunctioning devices. Now to today, my fiancé is a little sick and asked me to make her some tea to help her sore throat. We have a Keurig in our room that sits on a desk. The cord hangs behind the desk near the outlet, and we plug it in to use the Keurig. When the Keurig is unplugged, there is a fan and a lamp plugged into the outlet, so one has to be unplugged to use the Keurig. I unplugged the lamp, then without plugging the Keurig in, put the mug under the spout and pressed the button. Nothing happened, obviously, and my stoned mind could not for the life of me figure out why the Keurig wasn't working. I pressed the buttons a few more times before turning to my fiancé, who is both sick and stoned, and saying, "I don't know why it's not working. Did we somehow break it?" She took a glance under the desk and goes, "Well, is it plugged in?" I took a moment to process those words and then said, "I couldn't find the cord." She just smirked and goes, "So, just to make sure I understand, you couldn't find the cord, so you didn't plug it in, and now you aren't sure why it isn't working." This is one of those dumb moments that I will never live down. TLDR, I tried to use the Keurig without plugging it in, and my fiancé made fun of me for it. Today I fucked up by not realizing there's a camera in our office, chill room 28F. So this happened over the past few months, but I only found out a few days ago. I 28F work in a pretty standard office environment. Nothing too fancy, but we have this one room that's kind of like a chill zone, a couch, vending machine, a couple of lockers for our personal stuff, and it's where people hang out during breaks. No desks, no computers, just a place to unwind. I've been using that room a lot. Sometimes when I come back from lunch a little sweaty, I bring a spare t-shirt and just quickly change in there. I always thought it was no big deal. It's not a public space, just co-workers, and I made sure no one else was around. Also, I've definitely done stuff like picking my nose, like no one's watching, because I thought no one was. Complaining loudly about my boss on the phone with my sister. Anyway, 2 days ago, a co-worker pulled me aside and gently let me know that there's a security camera in that room. I froze. Apparently, it's there for safety reasons since we keep some lockers in there, but it still records everything. I had no idea. I'm now spiraling thinking about who might have seen the footage. I don't know the camera's angle. I don't know how long they store the recordings. I don't know if my boss has ever reviewed them. But I do know I've said some truly unfiltered things in that room. Not to mention changed shirts more than once. Now I'm scared to even make eye contact with anyone at work. What do I do? Do I go to HR and ask if I can see the footage? Is it better to just pretend nothing happened and never enter that room again? How much damage control is even possible? TLDR TIFU, by not realizing there's a camera in our office, chill room. Today I fucked up by not knowing that pepperoni was made out of pork. I brought a couple of pepperoni pizzas to my co-workers working the night shift. One of my favorite and closest co-workers that was working is Muslim, and I've been trying really hard to learn as much as I can about Islam in the past few weeks, but I didn't know that pepperoni was made out of pork. She was extremely nice and polite when she told me that she wasn't allowed to eat that. But honestly, I feel so dumb for making such a silly mistake. The worst part is that I already knew she didn't F with pork, but I feel so dumb for not knowing pepperoni was made out of pork, so I just stood there all awkward and shit. I tried my hardest to tell her I was sorry, but at this point I just feel dumb. TLDR brought pepperoni pizza for my co-workers, not knowing pepperoni was made out of pork. I offered it to one of my closest co-workers who doesn't eat pork. Now I feel awful. Today I fucked up by reacting with a laughing emoji on a condolences post. In one of my WhatsApp groups, a member shared the sad news that someone had recently passed away, and that they were holding a memorial service for her, along with an invitation photo. Last night, I accidentally reacted with a laughing emoji on the post, and I only noticed it this morning. I quickly changed my reaction and sent a personal message to the person explaining that it was a mistake. I'm feeling really embarrassed because my reaction was the only one besides a caring response, and it must have been visible to everyone who saw the invite. TLDR, I accidentally reacted with a laughing emoji on a WhatsApp post about a memorial service. I noticed it the next morning, changed it, and apologized. I'm really embarrassed since it was the only non-caring reaction. Today I fucked up by accidentally posting in the wrong work group chat. TLDR started a new job that is rad, except my now former boss was a terrible person that we all hated. New boss started and seems cool. Accidentally texted about plans my co-workers and I had in the chat with him, in it, after him, talking about us having quarterly outings earlier this week, and now I'm panicking. I stared a new job, and it has been great, except the boss that was there when I started was straight up evil. She thankfully got fired about a month ago, and it's safe to say my co-workers and I are all have some trust issues. Our new director started, and he seems really awesome and genuine, but he has only been there a few weeks, so we are trying to not get our hopes up too much. We never would get dinner or anything with our old director because she was so crazy, but we all decided we wanted to start having a monthly dinner together. We made plans to go out tonight, but we're on the fence on inviting the new director. So we didn't. He seems like a really nice guy. We just don't want to get burned again. Anyways, our main group chat has him in it, but we have a separate chat started without our boss for these plans. One of our co-workers couldn't make it and texted us in the group chat with our new boss. I responded and then sent the address of where we were going in the same message, making it pretty obvious we were all going out together. I feel horrible about it. He has mentioned doing quarterly outings with his last team and wanting to implement stuff with us. so I feel extra shitty not inviting him to our monthly outing. He really does seem like a very kind human. I have been the odd one out most of my life and feel extra bad excluding people. We just are coming from a really bad situation and don't want to trust someone new too fast. Not sure if I should apologize or just pretend it never even happened. I think I just also worry about if I pretend it never happened, would he resent us and make work uncomfortable? Ah.